revealed Germany's master plan for EU dominance over UK post-Brexit. Researchers from independent UK and A Change in Europe have said that last week's agreement over Phase 1 of the Brexit process did not address who would mediate any potential future conflicts between the UK and EU over the Withdrawal Bill. Dr. Simon Usherwood, deputy director of the organisation, has warned that some countries are likely to refuse any deal that is not overseen by the EU. He said, "Some member states are against anything that isn't overseen by the European Court of Justice." Bureaucratic EU processes mean that the terms of the UK's withdrawal bill not only needs to be agreed with the Commission but also then ratified by every member state's national parliament. The expert stated that solutions such as an investor-state dispute settlement, which sees an independent arbitrator oversee any legal disputes, would likely be rejected by German politicians who would want EU oversight. He said, "Finding something that is ratifiable, you could go down an investor-state dispute settlement route for instance, but I just don't see that getting ratified in countries like Germany. So finding a political middle ground both sides can be happy with strikes me as something that will be very, very difficult indeed." However, there were also concerns raised that the European Parliament could also try to change the terms of the Brexit agreement once it has already been agreed by David Davis and Michel Barnier to give the EU courts a greater role in future. Professor Catherine Barnard, who lectures in law at Cambridge University, stated, "It may be that the Court of Justice will take a role on adjudicating on the interpretation of the withdrawal agreement because it will be an agreement of EU international law. There's nothing to stop the European Parliament taking a look at the agreement in October or November 2018 and saying we want the European Court of Justice to rule on whether this agreement is compatible with EU law. If the European courts were given a role in overseeing any agreement between Brussels and the UK, it would mean that the UK would be forced to bow to the rulings of the EU after leaving the organisation in 2019. Large parts of the official Leave campaign during 2016's referendum were fought on the promise that the EU would take back control from the EU, and giving a role to the unelected institution post-Brexit may be seen as a betrayal of last year's vote. Fears of EU controls are likely infuriate those who are angry with how plans for Brexit are being handled and increase calls for Britain to leave with no deal. The agreement announced in Brussels between the two negotiating partners last Friday did not include any mention of how the deal would be mediated, meaning that David Davis and Michel Barnier are yet to come to an agreement on the issue. So far negotiations have only focused on three main areas: the divorce bill, the future of citizens' rights, and the Irish border.